I'd like to go ahead and welcome everyone today to the Monterey Salinas Transit Board of Directors meeting of March 10th, 2025. And the participation for the Monterey Salinas Transit Corporation meeting is available in person as well as virtually, Zoom, telephone, and email. And there is listed the meeting ID number and the passcode. Do I need to repeat those, Carl? Or
No,
It's on the agenda.
okay, it is on the agenda. It could be referenced there. Okay, with that, public comments made during the meeting or via email, here's a little warning for public speakers that MST is committed to civility and is mindful of its responsibility to protect the work environment and to assure civility in its public meetings. The public is encouraged to engage in respectful dialogue that supports the freedom of speech and values diversity of opinion. Failure to participate in respectful dialogue will forfeit the speaker's right to participate in public comment. With that, I would like to call this meeting to order. It is 10:02. And with that, Jeanette, roll call, please.
Yes, City of Carmel by the Sea.
yes,
City of Gateway Oaks.
Here.
City of Gonzales.
Here.
City of Greenfield.
Here.
City of King.
present,
City of Marina.
Here.
City of Monterey.
Present.
City of Pacific Grove.
here,
City of Sand City.
Here.
City of Salinas.
We are here.
City of Seaside.
here,
City of Soledad.
here,
And County of Monterey.
Present.
Okay, thank you. With that, I would like to ask Director Labar if he would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Chair. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Director Le. And with that, we'll move on to number 1.3, and this is to conduct the swearing in ceremony of our new board director member, Bob Phelps. Okay. And let's see here.
He's here.
Hello, welcome.
thank you.
And Bob, have the swearing in
do.
script if you want to raise your right hand and read the script.
I, Bob Delves, do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Okay, thank you. Welcome. And welcome. Yes, so Jeff is no longer with us.
He is, I believe, going to be on the TAMC board. Is that correct?
Yes, he
is.
And
Yes,
he's also our alternate.
Yeah, he's remaining an alternate and will be on the TAMC board and I think Community Health Services. Those are the boards that he'll be sitting on.
So you know how it is the beginning of the year and new appointments and all that, so. Okay, with that, let's look to Carl for some highlights.
Great, thank you, Chair. Among the usual items on the board, draw your attention to item 3.6. This might look familiar because you approved it last month. However, there was a mismatch between the amount that was on the agenda and the amount that was in the board report. This corrects that typographical error and keeps us clean. And so we're going to ask you to readopt this with the correct number.
Is it less money?
It is not.
Oh.
Of course,
See what it is.
We have our usual recognitions. I do want to though draw your attention to especially to the Transit Employee Appreciation Day presentation that will be coming up. We have a public hearing for our federal program or project for fiscal years 24 and 25. are those the correct years? Okay.
Yes.
And this is something that we are required to do in order to process our grants with the federal administration. We have a amendment to our contract with the company that does our app information, the transit app folks, and then an amendment to a contract for construction management oversight. And then we're bringing back to you the board code of conduct policy based on the input that we received at the January workshop. We do have a closed session item with regard to real property negotiations on item 10.1 as well.
Okay, thank you, Carl.
Madam Chair, I would like to respectfully question, why are we talking about fiscal year 2024 when that's yesterday? Shouldn't we be talking about 25 and 26 rather than 24 and 25?
I'd be happy to bring that up when the item comes on the agenda.
We'll open up public comment when we get to that item.
Thank you.
And you could comment there. Thank you. With that, we will thank Carl. Carl, thank you for your review, the highlights. We'll move on to item 2. This is public comments on matters not on the agenda today. So at this time, members of the public may address the board on any item not on today's agenda. Any matter related to the MST jurisdiction. So there is a time limit of not more than 3 minutes for each speaker, and the public is encouraged to engage in respectful dialogue. With that, I'll go ahead and open this item up, and this is for items not on the agenda. Items on the agenda, I'll open it up then for that item, public comment.
Madam Chairman and members of the board, once again, Jim Fink. Happy to say I've been 28 years a customer of Monterey Salinas Transit. And I'm excited at what happens with this system. But I would respectfully suggest that there should be serious consideration to removing the so-called cutaway coaches from service and replacing them with standard coaches on a couple of grounds. When I had my walker at home in Fairfield and I was just getting around normally, those steps into those cutaway are something else if you're an old man like I am. And the second thing is the lifts with the cutaways are cumbersome to use. I would dearly love to see those lines have the regular MST coaches. Also, I think it's very important to get that San Jose service going again. If you go to the Diridon Transit Center, there's great big MST signs on the corner of Santa Clara and Cahill Streets. MST logo, but no MST. We need to get back there, and also to Berryessa Station Way and the Berryessa North San Jose BART. So I'd like to see that. And I spoke to the December meeting of the VTA board, urging them to contact you and contact Metro to get on board with the Clipper. Because as far as I'm concerned, Clipper needs to be the statewide system for operating transit, not just a limited area. It should be all over California, and I'm after that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Public comment is still open. Looking for hands. Not seeing any.
No one online, and I don't see anyone else in the room.
Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and close public comment, and thank you for your comment, Mr. Fink.
Welcome.
With that, we'll move on to calendar, and these items will be approved with a single motion. Anyone may request an item be discussed and considered separately. Directors, we do have items 3.1 through 3.9. Is there any item that you would like to pull for separate consideration at this time?
I would like to just ask for a correction to the minutes of the last meeting, because I did make a comment at the end for referrals for the next agenda. The Greenfield system being on the next agenda.
Okay, I believe, I thought I remembered that.
I recall that there was an ask to bring it back to a future agenda. I personally didn't recall that it was for this specific agenda, but we will make certain that we get it.
Yeah, because
on
we
next
talked
month.
about it as the item when we were talking about passing the starting the construction, but then at the end with referrals for future agenda items, that was an item I requested.
So, and staff's not ready to put that, it can't
We
be
can't,
as an
we don't have the
emergency.
ability to.
So, what we will do is we will ensure that that is on the next agenda.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Right,
staff
right.
endeavors to, catch all of this, and if we miss, when we publish the agenda a week ahead of time, we have, up to 72 hours before. So if I would encourage the board to read their packets as early as possible, because if there's something that we need to add, under the Brown Act, we could then add it. And, we aim for 100%, but in this case, apparently we missed, and I apologize. At this time, we just don't have the ability to add it to legally add it to the agenda. But if you tell us by Wednesday before, we generally can do that. And we have done that. Something comes up late, we can do that. So.
Yeah, when I saw MST, I assumed it maybe it wasn't, we weren't ready with
Well,
staff information, so
there is that too.
yeah, so. But when we connected earlier, then it was clear it was just not remembered, so I wanted to make sure it's on there for the next one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other corrections to the agenda? To the consent agenda? And if not, let's go ahead and open this up to the public. Public comment is open on the consent agenda.
Yeah, with respect to item 3-9, I would like to see that pulled simply because I think that Jeff Barron is entitled to some significant recognition this morning. He has done a tremendous job of serving our MST board, and I think he should get some special recognition.
Did you want to comment on that?
I in discussing, when Jeff, told me of his, pending, leaving this board, he specifically asked me not to put a special presentation on the agenda for him. Normally, we would have the recognition from the board occur under item 4, recognition and special presentations. Jeff asked for that not to be placed on the agenda. We put the item on the consent agenda.
You didn't even say bye, man. What's up with that?
He may be shy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no input other than what was asked and what I provided.
Yes, so, yes, and I knew about that also, and I did have it listed under 4.3 to make mention, but he did request that no highlight be put on him. So, that is why it's just on the consent agenda. So,
However, if you want to pull it and make your comments, that's certainly appropriate as well.
So, with respect to the board, I think we'll go ahead and pull it, and we can make a few comments. Put it on under 4.3, or we could, if you would like to put it under 4.3, or
It's the prerogative of the chair. You can either hold that discussion now or pull it and move it to item as an item 4.3.
Okay, I think I prefer to put it at 4.3.
So you'd be
Okay,
looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda items 3-1
Through
through
A.
3-8.
yes,
So move.
okay.
Second.
We have a motion. Did I close public comment?
Well, I don't think you closed
it, but Okay.
there's
Okay. Is there public comment is still open? And not seeing any, we'll go ahead and close. I see Norm's hand, but he's not wanting to talk. We'll close public comment and we have a motion for approval. And did I hear a second?
Yeah, second.
Second right here.
And
All
for the
there.
record, who made the motion and who made the second? Fernando.
And made a second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to item 4, recognitions and special presentations for 1.
We have Juan Castillo, Employee of the Month. And Paul Lopez. This supervisor will make the presentation.
Good morning, MST Board, MST staff and members of the public. I'm pleased to announce selecting facilities technician Johnny Castillo as an Employee of the Month for March 2025. Johnny began his career at MST in 2016 when he was hired as a utility service person, cleaning our MST fleet. Through his hard work and dedication, he was promoted to Facilities Department as a Facilities Tech 1 and later advanced to Facilities Tech 2. Johnny has served as the lead technician on several occasions where he assumed additional responsibilities and led the facilities crew. Johnny has consistently demonstrated exceptional dedication in maintaining the MST facilities and ensuring they're safe, clean, and operational. His commitment extends to MST bus shelters and bus stops, preventive maintenance, where efforts are invaluable. Recently, Johnny played a key role in installing the 19 new bus shelters funded by the Clean California Grant. His leadership and dedication was instrumental in removal and installation of these shelters, contributing to the project's successful and completion. Johnny's strong work ethic, positive attitude, and commitment to the facilities team have made a significant impact. His contribution to MSC's success are truly appreciated, and we are grateful for his hard work. Please join me in congratulating Johnny as Employee of the Month.
I'll just add that, first impressions are important. And the first impression that an MST customer gets, whether new or existing, is our bus stop. Before the bus even arrives, having a safe, clean environment for someone to wait for that bus to get there is the most important thing that we can do. 9 out of 10 of our customers and surveys consistently say that they feel safe and that our shelters are clean. And it's to Johnny and his team that we have to thank for that. Thank you so much, sir. We've already had your Employee of the Month 10, and we have a resolution from this board thanking you for your efforts. And most importantly, you've already got your check, right?
Yeah.
All right. So if you'd like to speak a few words, you're welcome to.
Well, thank you, everybody. I first like to thank my family, my lady back here, Gia, my kids. They're my driving force of why I do this. I wake up every day and I work hard for them. I'd like to give a shout out to the facilities crew. These guys in the green, they all work just as hard as me. So, they could get this as easily as I did. I'd like to give a special thanks to my boss, Paul. It's him who puts me in situations where I can showcase my skill set and always dares me to challenge myself. So I appreciate that. And I'd like to thank everybody that took time to send me an email and personally thank me in the hallways. So thanks. That's it.
And family, team, we'll have a big group. I know facilities likes to do it big. They have I think one of the teams that everybody always shows up when they.
Sometimes they have some people.
Yeah, okay. Come on in. Thank you. Look at all you folks. Yeah, yeah, we were ready to put it in a shelter.
Exactly.
I remember how personable you were.
Yeah.
I said hi. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I just released the price.
Okay. Ready? Oh.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the best ones. Okay. Oh. I get it now.
Yeah, you do.
Yes. All right. That's a fun part.
Oh, I forgot to.
And
Newspaper.
I know.
Is that count?
We- I think we're doing a trend. What's the date?
Week tomorrow.
And then next we have the Transit Employee Appreciation Day and Carl and Akuyo.
Yes, this is an annual event. We do different things every year. But it's a day to honor and appreciate all transit employees, a nationwide event supported by our National Trade Association, the American Public Transportation Association. We use it to show respect and appreciation for all the hardworking people here at MST, and we have a variety of events, generally involving food, generally involving the management team showing up at some ungodly hour in the morning. We all serve food so that we have an appreciation of how tough it is for our staff. So you'll see us out there at 4 o'clock in the morning.
A little bit later this year, but yeah,
A little bit
early,
later, okay, thank you.
giving you a
But,
break.
we'll let Akuyo give you the details. Board members are also
Definitely welcome.
welcome to join, especially at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, so next Tuesday, March 18th is when we will be celebrating at each of our transit locations in Monterey, Salinas, King City. And so we welcome you to join us as we enjoy some breakfast goodies and share some swag and really just take the opportunity to connect with other staff, drivers and operations staff that we don't get to interact with all the time. We'd love to, but we just can't. But this is an opportunity to, make it happen. So I will send out some details. But yeah, and in addition, we have a favorite driver contest going on right now. So if you see us on social media, you'll see us asking for photos from passengers of their favorite driver. And at the end of the week, we'll send out a vote. And next week we'll announce the winner. So
Customer's Choice,
award.
People's Choice Award that we will give our drivers.
Yep.
All right.
So thank you.
That's wonderful.
And we have the resolution here. I'm not sure how you want to handle the next item. for
Oh, let's see.
Mr. Barron.
Oh, yes. So moving on to.
Madam Chair? Could I say something about the
Yep.
previous item?
Yes.
Because I did attend last year in Monterey. I arrived by bus, by the way. And I didn't arrive at 4 a.m., but it was really nice to be there. And this year I cannot attend. So I hope other board members will be able to attend the morning celebrations. But thank you.
And the 18th runs on what day?
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. Oh,
A
boy.
week tomorrow.
I could do it.
All right.
Okay.
We'll get some words out and
Four, but maybe.
No.
Oh, no?
That was,
Okay.
we have done it in the past. Kuyo said she's giving us a break this year, so that's good.
All right. With that, we'll move on to the item that was pulled, and this is resolution 2025-18 and resolution for Jeff Barron in appreciation of 6 years of support to the MST Board of Directors and his positive contribution to the community. Shall I read this out or?
Certainly may.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and read it. Whereas Jeff Barron served on the Board of Directors of the Monterey Salinas Transit District between December 2018 and February 2025. And whereas during his time as a board member, Jeff Barron asked thoughtful questions and shared insightful policy opinions for the betterment of thorough deliberations and the development of sound and strong transit policy. And whereas Jeff Barron served on the ad hoc committee reviewing MST's monthly report and provided direction on important information to share with the Monterey Salinas Transit District Board and the community. And whereas Jeff Barron has been a strong advocate for public transit in his community, helping friends, neighbors, and visitors assess transit in Carmel by the Sea and beyond. And whereas Jeff Barron participated in the planning and implementation of the MST Better Bus Network, helping to provide faster, more convenient, and affordable transit services. And whereas Jeff Barron, through his advocacy efforts, helped in the securement of permits and agreements from local cities and state departments and commissions for the SURF bus and best rapid transit project. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors gives Jeff Barron its sincerest thanks and appreciation for his service as a member of the MST Board and for his continued dedication to the MST Transit and its vision in connecting communities, creating opportunity, and being kind to our planet. The Board of Directors of Monterey Salinas Transit will look at passing this resolution on the 18th, on the 10th day of March 2025. And with that, I'll open it up to board comments. Any board comments? And this here is an item.
I'll say
Okay.
something. I know Jeff was very dedicated, still is dedicated to MST. And as a writer too, I've met him for lunch and have him arrived on the bus. So what I appreciated about Jeff was his ability to really ask questions. He's a very good critical thinker. And I appreciated that from him. I feel like I learned, I continue to learn from him. So I do feel like he made some really great contributions to this board, and I'm happy we can recognize him.
Of course. Thank you. And anyone else? And if
Well,
not,
I also appreciate Baron, even though he didn't say bye. Well, but I appreciate those words because you know what, he really believes in what he's doing. He thinks things through. He is critical. But I appreciated that he took the time to also write, when he had questions, he wrote the bus just to get a firsthand. And I want to thank Mr. Fink also for bringing that to the board so we can honor him. But I know we got a bigger man here with the MST here. And, welcome. So Mr. Barron, MST coffee for you.
with that, I'll open up public comment.
I just want to say, a lot of people may not pick it up, but they should when they see my last name. My race is not Caucasian. I'm a Jew. And in the Psalms, we have a Hebrew word that you see frequently in the English translations, Selah. I will submit that that word Selah was very much an operative for Jeff Barron, because Selah means think of that, now think of this. And yeah, it's a transition word. And Jeff was so great at that in his time on this board. The board would be thinking about something, he'd be on that channel, and then he'd take it to the next channel where it needed to go. So, Selah, Jeff Barron.
And anyone else for public comment? And not seeing any, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And I'll bring it to the board for looking for a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
We have a motion and I hear a second. And all those in favor, please say aye. Any noes? Motion carries.
Did we get the order of the motion in a second?
Director Worthy made the motion, Emilio the second.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next item. It's a public hearing item 5.1, and you can find that on page 45 in your agenda. This is consideration of FY 2024 and FY 2025 federal program of projects. Susie Flores, I believe, is going to give us the staff report. And welcome, Susie.
Good morning, board members. Susie Flores, grants analyst at MST. And today I'm going to discuss.
Excuse me, Susie, could you read, thank you.
Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. This morning I'm going to discuss the federal program of projects for fiscal year 2024 and 2025.
Yeah.
Federal Transit Administration.
Yeah, we still can't hear.
Gotta get close to the mic.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Federal Transit Administration, Section 5307 Urbanized Area Formula Program provides operating assistance to public transit agencies. The apportionment amount varies by year and is based by population served and performance measures such as vehicle revenue mile per capita and passenger trips per capita. The full year apportionment for MST in fiscal year 2024 was $11,309,000. And the estimated full year apportionment for fiscal year 2025 is $16,516. MST uses its annual 5307 apportionments to fund general operations. And these funds pay for expenses, including fuel, security guards, and MST employee salaries. The funds also help pay for fixed route service provided by MB and support other capital projects. Staff proposes to use most of the fiscal year 2024 apportionment in the amount of $10,309,004 to continue paying for ongoing operating expenses for the agency and to support our board-approved capital improvements program. Staff proposes to use $659,456 toward non-revenue vehicle procurement and $340,544 to procure a content management technology to support a traveler information program. Staff proposes to use most of the fiscal year 2025 apportionment in the amount of $15,554,516 to continue paying for ongoing fixed route bus planning and operations. And staff proposes to use an additional $1 million towards procuring a content management technology to support a traveler information system. Federal regulations require your board to provide the public with an opportunity to comment on the program of projects for 5307 funds, which include fiscal year 2024 and 2025. A public hearing notice was published in the Californian on February 19th and in the Herald and Monterey Weekly on February 20th of this year, noting this public hearing today. Staff received no comments. Now I would like to request that we hold a public hearing for this program of projects.
Okay, thank you, Susie. With that, directors, any questions at this time for comments? No. Not seeing any.
There was a question earlier from the
Yes.
public about why we're doing FY 24 and 25. I think I know the answer, but we'll let you.
Yes, we had not previously applied for the FY 2024 funds because we hadn't previously received the full year allocation. That's why we're applying now for FY 2024 and 2025 funds.
And what happens is when Congress, we just had a report in the administration commission or administration committee. When Congress doesn't pass a full year's appropriation, we don't receive a full year's allocation of funding. Rather than having multiple public hearings each year, we wait until we get that full year's allocation before we hold it. So we're doing it this way. So that it hopefully answers the questions that were raised.
Thank you. Any other questions from directors at this time? And not seeing any, I'll go ahead and open this up to public comment. So the public comment is open on this item.
I have one question, and that question is this. With the changed administration from President Biden to President Trump, what, if any, bearing will that have on this board's relationship with Congress in terms of Congress funding Monterey Salinas Transit? Does the change in administration make a difference, and if so, what difference?
To go ahead and answer that. I don't know
Certainly,
if
there,
that's-
as far as the relationship and the role of this board, and the role of Congress, there is no change. Staff will continue to, inform the board of any changes, if any, in programs, and will continue to advocate for, as much investment as we can get. We've worked with the previous Trump administration, and we're actually acknowledged as the rural transit operator of the year nationwide by the previous Trump administration. So, most of our funding comes from federal funding comes from fuel taxes. Those aren't changing, and they're dispersed via formulas. So, some of the discretionary funding, the grant opportunities may change, may differ of what we will apply for and what will be selected. But that's not a major piece of what we do. So most of our money comes from formulas.
Thank you, Carl. Public comment is still open. And I am not seeing anyone via Zoom. So we will go ahead and close public comment, and thank you for your comment, Mr. Fink. With that, directors, any further discussion, comments, and or direction? Yes.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to approve this, and I'd like to congratulate Ms. Susie Flores, a great report, and I'm glad you're here at MST representing all these people, so thank you for your service.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. The recommendation was to conduct a public hearing for FY 2024 and FY 2025 program of projects. The second part was to adopt the 2024 FY 2025 program of projects and authorize the filing of appropriate grant applications with the Federal Transit and Caltrans. And with that, we do have a motion and a second. You have those directors. All those who are in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes, abstentions? Motion carries. I thank you, Susie, for your staff report, and we will go ahead and move on to the next item.
Before we move on, Madam Chair, where was that motion and second to adopt the fiscal budget? Carl, do you need additional authority to file the appropriate action?
I think if
they were all
together, as I heard her read,
Okay.
then I can do what I need to do as long as the minutes reflect that.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, Counselor. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to item 6.1, page 51 in your agenda. And that is ICUO will be giving us a staff report on the transit app amendment.
Good morning. Good morning, Chair, Directors, staff, community. My name is Ikuya Yoneda Lopez. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager here at MST. This morning, I'm here to seek this board's approval authorizing General Manager, CEO, or their designee to execute Amendment 2 with Transit app for mobile trip planning, Transit Royale, Rate My Ride, and in-app banner and push notifications in an amount not to exceed $273,300 for a 3-year term, and 2 one-year options for an additional amount of $245,700. You may or may not be aware of our relationship with Transit app. We started working with them in 2016 to provide our passengers with a comprehensive, just simple to use trip planning tool that tracks their bus in real time. So in 2021, we made it not Instagram official, but we made it official. They became our official mobility app. So since then, usage, adoption, downloads have increased year over year. Last year, we saw over 5,000 people download the app. So that's people that, didn't know it was there. Every opportunity we get, outreach, wherever, we're always promoting the Transit app because it's a tool. It's a really valuable tool for riders to have so they can see where their bus is at. The worst thing is when you're waiting at a stop and you don't know where your bus is at. Transit app allows you to track it in real time. So you say, oh gosh, I have time to go grab my cup of coffee. Let me go do that. So it provides a really valuable tool for them. Some of the features of the app, Transit Royale, in-app banners, Rate My Ride survey, which I'll touch on in a little bit. It's a really great feature because it allows passengers to go on to the app and tell us how we're doing. And so in a way, it helps us help them. So it's a really great tool for our passengers. And ultimately, it just improves the customer experience because they have the tool to get the information they need to use the service. So with that, we are recommending that the board authorize general manager or their designee to execute Amendment 2 with Transit app for mobile trip planning, Transit Royale, Rate My Ride, in-app banner, push notifications in an amount not to exceed $273,300 for a 3-year term and 2 one-year options for an additional amount of $245,700. Any questions?
Thank you, Director Labar.
Thank you, Kuno. Yeah, I've used the app. I've appreciated it. My only frustration was, and I guess it comes back to the amount of times that the bus sends a signal to the app on their location. So however we can shorten that up, because I'll have times where it's kind of just sitting there, but it's telling me it's coming around the corner. And in my small town, it actually made a big difference. But it's been very, very useful and helpful, so I'm all for this.
Okay, thank you, Director Labar. Yes, Director.
Yeah, I have a question. Thank you for the report. It's excellent. I'm all for it as a board member, but I'm just wondering about, you said that there's been an increase, but I'm wondering about the rural communities down south, such as Greenfield and Gonzales, and some of the rural areas in Monterey County. Do you find the usage in the rural areas up?
I can't speak specifically to the area. I can get that information. However, I can tell you that every month we get a report on the highest used lines, top 10. That's in your board packet, actually. And it's consistently Jazz A, Jazz B, and line 20. Those are the top 3. We do report the top 10, but you can see who's using it and what lines. So the ability to get specific information is there. And I can come back to you with that. Also, I will say that over close to 90% of our passengers have cell phones. And this is as of 2 years ago. I'm thinking it's more now. So all you need is a cell phone, really, to download it's a free transit app. So that's there. Our job continues to be getting the word out there and getting people to download it so they have that tool in their hands.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Just, like I said, I'm all for this.
Carl?
Yes, so as Cleo mentioned, this is we use the data from the app in your board report on page 17 of the monthly report. Lists MST's top 10. And of the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, line, King City, is the fifth, comes in 5, of all of our routes. How many routes do we have?
30 some odd routes. I
30
believe.
some odd routes. We have, Salinas to King City rates 5, and it rates 5 out of 5 stars. So, that tells us that that's, doing pretty well. With regard to, Mr. Labar's, Director Labar's comments, the issue with the timing of the updates is the system that actually feeds the transit app, and we will be coming to your board later this year for an upgrade to that. That system is 2003. It's
Definitely needs to
old
be
enough to
updated.
old enough to buy a beer, but not old enough to rent a car yet. But it's getting there. So, but we do need to update that system, and we're looking at an upgrade to that, and maybe we can increase the pulse rate of those that on time. We'll look for that. Thank you. Mhm.
Carl? I don't see Pacific Road on here. What's? That's okay.
That's the number of clicks.
That's crazy.
Director Fisher?
Yes, I had a question. What do you do to tell people, tell the riders about this? Because I know I don't take the bus very often, but once at the bus stop, I showed people there. And
Yes.
is that how you do it, or?
Yeah, it's outreach, it's on our website, it's every press release at the very bottom. To get more information, we recommend downloading the transit app. So, we have a pamphlet that we share every time, every opportunity we have, because that's, the more people can help themselves, better for them and for us as well.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome. The biggest advantage is what I know from a long time ago when I took the bus. You never knew whether you just missed it or not. And now you can just see, oh, it's still coming.
You can
Yeah,
see a little
so
bus actually coming your
it's-
way,
yeah.
literally,
It's
an image,
very
and so
nice.
it's really helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
Carl, do we have anything that's near the bus stops that tells about that app that we could promote it?
We have at stops a real-time
Flag.
sign,
Mhm.
a placard on each of the stops that tells the customers of its availability. And you can either use it by app, you can use Google Maps. you
Text
can
it.
Text next bus, or you can actually call an automated line that if you put in the bus stop number, which we have printed on the sign as well, it will tell you when the next several buses are scheduled to arrive. So there are opportunities to not just use the app, but phone, Google Maps, text, or using the app.
Director Fisher, did you?
No, I think maybe you meant like, is there QR code or so at the bus stops? I don't know. Maybe it's already there.
It's real time. The real time options are at the stop signs that offer the text number, the phone option, or the app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people can see it already.
The QR
Yeah.
code, though, will take you to our website and the schedule is listed there. So it's easy to access as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, thank you, Akio. I'm gonna go ahead and open this up for public comment. Public comment is open.
Members of the board, I have to say I've got a serious concern after what happened to me this morning. You might have gotten some phone calls because I asked some MST staff to call and let you know that I might end up being a tardiness here. Why? Highway 1 turned into the proverbial rolling parking lot, and any timing information on the 20 and other lines on Highway 1 between Marina and Sand City may have been right out the window. And I hope that the real-time things will be able to catch snafus like that and adjust accordingly, because I didn't think I was going to make it this morning. My coach was due at 8 minutes after 8 at the Monterey Transit Plaza. We actually got there at 8:39 because Highway 1 was a rolling parking lot. So that kind of thing concerns me. Is there some way that the real time thing can detect when you get that kind of a snafu.
Yes, it does. And it adjusts your schedule accordingly. And it may reroute you a different way, with a different. Unfortunately, we do not currently have the ability to change traffic on Highway 1, but we hope so in the near future.
Public comment is still open. And I'm not seeing anyone via Zoom or anyone in the conference room, so we'll go ahead and close public comment, and I'll bring this back to the directors for any further comments or
Motion to approve.
direction. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we need to read the recommendation?
The recommendation is to authorize general manager or their designee to execute amendment 2 with transit app for mobile trip planning. Transit Royale, Rate My Ride, and in a manner and push notifications in an amount not to exceed $273,300 for a 3-year term, and 2 1-year options for an additional amount of $245,700.
Thank you, Carol. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes, extensions, motion carries. With that, we'll move on to the next item, 6.2, that is on page 55. And with that, Lisa Reinheimer will be talking about the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit Project.
Yes, thank you,
Welcome, Lisa.
Chair and members of the board. Lisa Reinheimer, I'm the Deputy CEO for Monterey Salinas Transit. And I am here to recommend that you authorize the General Manager CEO to execute Amendment number 1 with Accenture. They were formerly Comtech for construction management oversight services for the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit Project in an amount not to exceed $3,113,206. So I'll go over a little bit of history, talk about the purpose and need for this amendment, talk about the budget, and you already know the recommendation. But it was nice to, or not nice to hear the comments about being stuck on Highway 1 from Mr. Fink earlier, because it goes to the need for the Surf Busway and Bus Rapid Transit Project to bypass Highway 1 traffic for our passengers to get to their destinations, to their connections, to attend important board meetings, and to get to their essential jobs on the Monterey Peninsula. So you may recall back in December of 2023, the board approved a contract with Comtech. At the time, they're the construction management oversight services consultant that we hired early on to help us go through permit tracking, to help us with contract negotiations and the like, as well as scheduling services. And at that time, we did not have all of our permits from the various different jurisdictions, including Sand City, City of Marina, Caltrans, as well as the Coastal Commission. And now those permits are in hand. There are more than 41 permits that we needed, some of them duplicative between Sand City and Marina. And then the Coastal Commission permit included quite a few conditions of approval that we're working through. Over 400 specific conditions of approval between the jurisdictions. So we've got a lot to track, to say the least. So what we're asking for today is to add on some scope of work for Accenture, including environmental mitigation monitoring and reporting items, specifically in response to that coastal development permit and all the conditions there. We didn't know where community outreach program would land, whether it was going to be with the construction company or with the construction management oversight consultant. We've landed on the construction management oversight consultant to do that work. And then I talked about the permits tracking, so many to deal with. So with that, the amount of the amendment is $3 million, a little over $3 million. We already have a contract for $5.6 million. We do have sufficient budget for the SURF project to be able to absorb this fairly large increase in construction management oversight services. So we are confident that these services are needed to move the project forward to its successful completion. With that, I'll stop and answer any questions if you have them. And we have our Accenture representative here too, who can help answer really detailed questions.
Thank you, Lisa. Directors, any questions for Lisa? And not seeing any, we'll go ahead and with no questions, we'll go ahead and take it out to the public. So public comment is open on this item.
I do not see any hands raised online. And we have Mr. Fink.
I have just one question here, and that is, you know, I've seen all the wonderful literature on the surf program, I'll call it. But how soon will that be able to be implemented and surf become a reality on MST?
Current estimates are early 2008.
So more information will be coming before the board at their April meeting. And our current schedule has us starting construction, heavy duty construction, you know, the trucks rolling out in July, August of this year, with the revenue service date required in our federal grant of March 31st, 2028, or get an act of Congress to move it later. We can deliver it earlier, just not later. So to answer Mr. Fink's question specifically, no later than March 31st, 2028, he will be able to ride the surf.
Okay.
So hold on.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
Lisa. Okay.
Second.
Yes. We have a first motion
Righto.
and a second,
Labar.
Labar. I will close public comment. That wasn't done. We have a first and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion carries.
Chair,
Yes,
as we move on to the next one, I would ask that we postpone that to our next meeting. I had sent in comments and revisions for the board policy. And Lisa did provide me copies, but it wasn't in the packet for the public.
okay.
Yeah, I can, we did,
Read through them.
we read through them and I can speak, you know, specifically to the comments and, you know, we did accept some of them and some of them we thought would be, we modified the language, although we didn't repeat verbatim everything that you asked for, but there were also comments made by Mr. Alejo, Mr. Smith, Mr. Barron, and yourself, and but if there's a desire to, what I can do is, if we want to postpone this till next month, I can take all those comments from the workshop that we received, along with your written comments that were received later, and attempt to reflect them. And in the interim, if there's something, again, that you specifically have issue with or would like modified, we can continue to work on that, or not. This is a board policy, not a staff
Whatever
policy.
the
so
will of the board is, I'm chair, and I just thought whatever comments came from the board members would have been in the packet, so we could see what everyone's thoughts were.
Okay.
And that was, I just assumed that.
I apologize, I didn't understand that's what you were hoping for. We just took the comments that were from the meeting, and I incorporated your written comments, and Mr. Laredo and I, and shared with Chair Carbone, kind of worked that into the language, trying to, I'll attempt to synthesize a summary of what we heard. From Mr. Alejo, we heard you wanted language that specified outside of these board meetings, how do we recognize inappropriate conduct, say at conferences and that sort of thing. So we added a sentence there about while you're representing MST. From Mr. Darren, there was, from the best we could discern from his comments at the time, it had to do with, your board sits on many, your board member, as board members, you sit on many different boards. And sometime, while he used the term conflicted interests, I think that it wasn't the term like conflict of interests as in FPPC code. I think what he was attempting to get at was divided interests. Sometimes, as much as we try to work together, sometimes we divide. And what role does the board member have to play when you're sitting on a board and the two organizations may be at odds on an issue? So we addressed that. Mr. Labar, your comments were in the area of consequences. I actually wanting to delete that. I think we called it sanctions. We tried to soften the language and talk more about expectations rather than we removed. And Mr. Smith, you were mentioning a lot of, there's too many shalls. So we tried to eliminate the shalls as much as we could. Though there were some comments about one of the things that we left in that we heard a desire to leave out were the actual behaviors that we thought were inappropriate. I'm trying to remember exactly where that is, but there were specific words about harassing, discriminatory types of language and a few other descriptors. And after discussions with Michael Laredo and I, we thought, well, it would be better to have that language left in because it's definable versus less definable. So those were the gist of the comments, but I can absolutely bring this back with the actual what our transcripts and from the session set and your comments. We can bring that all back if that's the wish of your board.
So, Tony?
Well, you know what, I read the policy statement, I think it's very well written. I would like to hear, and in respect to Director Barr, I think we're ready to vote on this. It's not, it's just about respect. And you know what, I'm gonna ask our legal counsel, if this is fine, or to the question for Director LaBar, that we should wait, or with this policy statement, are we ready to vote on it?
So thank you, Director. This policy has been vetted through legal. What you have before you is a legally sufficient document. That being said, as the GM and I have discussed, this is a board policy, so it's driven by the board. So if you're not happy with it, we can bring it back for a different revision. And again, just making sure that it is legally sufficient, whatever we bring before you.
Okay. I'm gonna since we're on the discussion of this here, it all started, were we gonna continue it or not? I'm gonna say, let's go ahead and open it up. We can continue it. We don't have to make any decisions. We'll see what the board's thinking of now. So we've already heard from one director, and I'm seeing Director Alejo, and then we'll go to Director LaBar.
Thank you. But I would support Mayor LaBar's request to continue it. I still have issues with on the second page, the first top two paragraphs. I think, well, first of all, I just said generally, we sit on a lot of different boards. I don't think any of those boards has something like this. And I just want to caution that a policy like this would not be used against members of this board who are in a minority position, right? So on the first two paragraphs on the second page, the first one reads, members shall support the legitimacy and authority of the final determination of the board on any matter without regard to the member's personal position on the issue. So I think that's crossing the line, because I could be in a minority position, either in here or in closed session, and I could dissent. But it doesn't mean that just because the majority took a different position that I have to support that. I'm entitled under the Constitution and as an elected official to keep my position and disagree with what the majority action took. This says, no, I have to support the position taken. So I think that crosses the line. On the second paragraph, it also talks about, now we're going to duties of loyalty. Members acknowledge that they have a duty of loyalty and due diligence to the district. I think that's the first part, because it takes me back to that example that where we were in disagreement over transit funds, right, at TAMSI. And just because Carl and MST took a position doesn't mean that we have to necessarily keep that same position, because that's what Carl was advocating for. In that particular case, we were told that MST potentially was facing a deficit. It wasn't. It said it needed more of the money of 50 million. We ended up putting the 25 million that was allocated to MST. We just put it in an account where it was not needed for any particular purpose. When we had issues with the surf project, this board later then said, okay, we got the 25 million there, let's move it over to offset some of the costs, the shortfall for the project. But that's not what we were told during the deliberations at TAMSI. So for me, that was an example that took a particular position. In the end, I don't think it was accurate. We certainly weren't facing a deficit. We certainly have healthy reserves. And in the end, we ended up just putting that money and just sat there until we needed it for surf. So we were being told then, some of our board members of MST were saying we should have voted for MST, even though what was being presented was not accurate then. And I just don't want us for this to be like a hammer on some of our minority dissenting board members, just because they take a different position than perhaps the majority of MST would want to take. This policy is one that will be in place for all future years. I want to make sure we get it right, and that we have policies that help encourage good board decision and conduct, but not necessarily trying to use it in a way where we're trying to have dissenting members go along with the majority. And those are my two areas of concern, and I think that they have a little bit of overreach there. And it should be respecting everybody's decision, even if they are in the minority on a particular vote.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Alejo. Mr. LeVar?
Just a further comment is the reason what I expected to, and I should have gotten back to you sooner on this when I saw the agenda come out, is honestly, this agenda item should have had the original. It should have showed the comments from our board members and then this new proposed one, so that we can see where it came from, what were the suggestions, and what was the end up response, so we would have a clearer idea of where things were moving. And that's what's frustrating, because mine is based on the original, so it doesn't even reflect on to what is in the packet today. And then I still have great concerns, especially on the consequences portion. That was, to me, unnecessary. And the chair has all the power to maintain the quorum of a body. And so this is just, these are additional things that could actually be used, as just supervisor just mentioned, can be used against somebody. And I still, even under the current one, is still too vague. Anybody can say, this is harassing me, this is doing this to me, this is made me feel this way, and cause this internal thing to go on. So, and I'll leave it there.
Okay. Thank you, Director Pacheco.
Yeah, I think there's enough interest in potentially bringing this back. I think we can fight each issue today or bring it back in a more thorough concept so everybody feels comfortable in it. So I'm not sure if a motion is appropriate or not, or the direction you're seeking, but I just think doing what we're doing right now is not going to move anything forward.
Okay. Well, we'll bring it back. I'm going to open it up to public comment, and I will bring it back to the directors for the future discussion, comments, in the direction that we will take, what we will do with this. So Are there any other director comments at this time? Director Smith.
And I concur, right? It's not ready for print, but certainly I think the contribution from all board members is valuable. Under the consequences section, I guess it's just a process question. When a body says they're going to sanction a member, it really calls for a lot more. And so I don't know what happens when you sanction. Is it forever? How does one get back in good favor? Do they do a public apology? Do we go 6 months? We make a contribution to Tony's campaign. So the way this is written leads me to believe that the whole sanctions and consequences portion needs a lot of work and clarity, because I don't know what it means for a board member to be sanctioned and then it just hangs there. So I think this language, if we're gonna have sanctions and we're gonna say by action of the board, that member could be sanctioned, then there needs to be clarity in terms of, well, what happens when it's over? Sanctioned for 30 days, sanctioned for 6 months, and then, or does that member who was sanctioned have to request to be brought back in favor? So that, to me, the sanctions part is the lion's share of a lot of the work, but I think that there has to be some sanction if we're talking about conduct and misconduct. I agree, but I think we need to be very careful in terms of writing all of these things down. It should be chair-driven, board action, and consequences, but there should be clarity in terms of how the consequence plays out and what's the return in terms of that elected member to be represented on the board. So I'm very confused by what's written here today. So I support continuing it as well.
Okay.
Just through the chair, if I could, addressing that specifically, this policy is a standard policy you see with a lot of public agencies. The censure language in here, it is common, and you want to keep it openly vague, so that way it is a board decision depending on the severity of the violation of the policy. You know, if it's a slap on the wrist, you don't want to say, well, the policy says it has to be 30 days. It could be, oh, no, that this should just be a warning, or it should be something that should be more definite. It says in here that sanctions are deemed appropriate by the board. So it's the whole board voting, not one person to issue a sanction, which allows to have that discourse and rationale placed on the duration and severity of any sanction. That being said, not opposed to bringing it back, looking at additional language to be included. Again, this is a board policy, so we will take all direction that's appropriate and bring it back as many times as you want.
Yeah, and I appreciate the interpretation. I wouldn't necessarily agree wholeheartedly with what other boards do, but that's one of the parts of my makeup is that I'm very, very tolerant to First Amendment rights in terms of the attitudes of conflict and respect, of course, but when we have a divergence of ideas and we have conflict in a board environment, as long as it doesn't cross that line that is in the threats, promises of violence, all of the things that would be unacceptable to any environment. I guess it's just a matter of the way our government works, is it sometimes it can be adversarial, but that's when sometimes the best ideas come out. So I want to be very careful to not give too much authority to any board that stamps down on that constitutional right, where those independent minds on the board are allowed some leeway in terms of that adversarial relationship. But we've got to have something in consequences. I just don't think it's this.
Okay, just quickly, I think I just want to clarify that it's important for us to have a code of conduct. The fact that we have never had one is kind of interesting. So as far as the entire board coming back and saying, yes, we need to go back and look at it again, that's important because this is all of our decisions. I think it's a good start, but we definitely need to come back. And I think it's really important for us to have it. And I think there's many agencies that don't at this point, and I think things can get tough sometimes. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I'd like to make a suggestion that we move this item. I'll make a motion on that, but move it up to the beginning of the next agenda, not buried later, because there could be more discussion on it. So that's my motion, is that we move this item, since there's some questions and stuff. Just move this item, and I would like to see it at the beginning of the agenda, the first item.
Second that.
Thank you.
As an action item? As an action item, or would it
Yeah,
go
an
under?
action item.
Okay. All right.
Second.
Okay, we
Can I
have,
ask for clarification? But that would include what I suggested is the original. This is the amended, and also the information from the board members that provided their comments.
so,
That's in the body of the.
yeah,
packet.
so, there, with your request to have the original, the board comments, the proposed policy, and, do we want to add any additional board comments since it's coming back? This will give you a chance to,
Through the chair, might I recommend a different approach? This policy was originally brought together from a subcommittee of you, Director Worthy, and a director that's no longer on the board. Perhaps sending it to another committee, subcommittee, and maybe seek volunteers for that, so that way they can then reshape it, bring it back as a completely new item to seek comments and get further direction, since there's gonna be a lot of conflict.
okay, Director Amelia?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be on the subcommittee.
Just because there was a motion and a second, so.
Not fine with
But why do we have to do that? I
To bring-
mean, yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Michael, but we've already got a document. We have the recommendations from the rest of the committee members. Why can't we just take that information and move it? I don't think it's important at this point for us to have another subcommittee. Then we push things back further and further. So my recommendation is to, well, we've already got a motion on the table at this point.
We have a motion and a second. There was a lot of talk regarding the First Amendment rights. So I don't know if we need to
Staff will make certain that whatever language we put forward does not abridge anyone's First Amendment rights.
okay,
And then it would include any additional comments after this meeting before the next one from board members.
Yeah.
So, just for example.
For
I
what
provided
happened
for the
tonight,
Last document,
to
I
see-
provided all
yeah.
mine, which wasn't in this one. And I'm sure I'm gonna go back over this current iteration and see where I find conflict or acceptance and provide additional comments on that. So I'm just wanna make sure that board member comments are reflected within the packet. So all of us can see where we started from, what was suggested, what was the second iteration, and then additional comments after that regarding the second iteration. So we can all make a more informed decision. That's all I'm asking for.
okay.
Can you just
Director
make that into a friendly emotion
Yeah, well,
to attach to his emotion and
I would ask the maker and the second of the motion if they would accept that format into their motion.
I would accept that.
I go with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a first and a second. I'm gonna open this up to public comment. Public comment is open.
Others asleep.
No, they're letting us do it.
Okay. And I'm not seeing anyone online or in the conference room, so we'll close public comment. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? And motion carries. So that'll be coming back at
April.
the April meeting.
We'll,
If
we'll
hopefully,
keep you informed.
hopefully you have it. And if we could,
Depending on the comments and what we go
Yeah.
through,
That's right.
I will let you know and I'll work with you as far as we
okay,
will attempt to bring it back for April.
and
I don't want to guarantee that.
okay, we'll see what we can do, but for sure we'll have, we will have, the other item to come back from South County.
Correct. That one
Okay.
will definitely be on
Okay.
our next agenda.
All right, now, let me find my paperwork. With that, we will go ahead and move on to item 7, reports and information items, and we'll go with the general manager report.
Yes, read a little bit of this in the administration committee meeting. You see our January ridership, again, higher than the previous year. That's 24 months of consistent growth since the implementation of the Better Bus Network. And we did note that the new lines 31 and 32 circulators in the cities of Gonzales and Soledad. We had our first full month of ridership, and we had more passengers carried as well on those new circulators than we did the previous January with the MST on call. The new line 40 that we implemented to Rancho Cielo, while not carrying necessarily a lot of passengers because it's very limited service, just a morning trip and an afternoon trip. At 31 point passengers per hour, it is MST's most productive route. So that means it's a good bang for the buck as far as moving people. So those are some recent successes that I think we're moving in the right direction with all of this. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Federal legislative advocacy report. Hopefully it's not crickets.
No, it's my mother.
You need a
Go
minute?
ahead.
You could go ahead.
We'll continue on.
Well, the most, so we'll move on to state legislative advocacy update and recommendations. These reports are all in your packet. They don't require action by the board. I don't know how long Carl's gonna be, but were there any staff trip reports? None. Correspondence is on page 73 through 75. In your packet, we'll move to board reports and comments and referrals. So 8.1 reports on meetings attended by board members at MST expense. Were there any? I don't believe so. 8.2 board member comments and announcements.
Madam Chair, I just want to let the MST Employee Appreciation Day. I apologize. I'll be out of town on the 18th, but I'm with you there, and I appreciate the whole MST staff. So forgive me, I won't be there, but I'll be visiting my mama as well. Thank you.
And any other member
Good son.
reports?
Yes.
Yeah. Good son, Tony.
Thank you.
Board member referrals for future agendas. I think we went over that.
Just reiterate the Greenfield request.
Okay, and then we'll be working on the board conduct policy.
Correct.
And see if that is ready to come back.
Madam Chair, there was another request, and I spoke to Carl about it from the Salinas Community Science Workshop. They sent an email to Director Barrera and myself. This is they have been awarded an old MST bus, but they said they need a new one, so they want to come do a presentation and show how they've refurbished a bus to a mobile science lab that goes out to different parts of the community. They got it in Greenfield, but this is their Salinas one, and they want to be able to show how they've utilized a bus in terms of promoting young people learning about STEM. So that'd be my request.
Okay.
And I know you got a lot ahead of mine, but if you
Yeah,
get like a 10-minute
that's a
presentation,
fun
that'd
one.
be great.
Yeah, we
Okay.
want to do that one. It's amazing what this group, they sent us, they actually sent us the statistics on Friday of what they've been doing with this, disused MST bus that would have gone off to auction, that would have, generated very little money for MST, and it's doing so much more in the community. I think it'll be important for this board to hear their story, because we do have throughout the year numerous donations of these buses that we make to nonprofits throughout the county. And I think we'll definitely get that one on the agenda, because it'll be a Good story. It's a great story, one that I want to amplify.
Okay. Sounds
Thank you.
welcoming. Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, Renee?
I would like, if possible, Carl, and maybe Michelle would be the one. I'd like to know where we're actually at with those 31s in Gonzales, if we have the actual numbers of how people are doing with that. I mean, I looked at it and I saw the 2%. Is it in here that I missed it?
Do we have the actual?
I mean, I saw that it was 2% up, but I'm curious to see if the folks are actually utilizing it.
Well, yeah, there are,
I mean,
there are people using the service and they're using it slightly more than they were using the MST.
Before, okay, yeah,
So,
all right.
and that was, 1 month's worth of information or data that also included 2 holidays, I think. in
Yeah, that's
January.
right, President's
So,
Day and all that. Okay,
So we'll continue to report.
great, because I
Yeah.
really want to make sure that they use it. I mean, I've driven it myself a couple times, so I just want to make sure that others are doing it.
We can, as we pull this data together for the monthly report, I can shoot you an email.
Okay, that'd be great.
I do that periodically with other board members on special routes, so like in Monterey for the trolley. It's not unusual for me to get special requests for individual routes in a city.
Okay,
And
perfect, thank
we
you.
can do that for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other directors? Not seeing any. We'll go ahead and move on to item 9, and that's the monthly report for January, which can be viewed online. With that, we will go to item 10. This is a closed session item. And we will be going into conference with real property negotiations, government code 54956.8, APN number 031-101-063-000, located at Joe Lloyd Way in the incorporated Monterey County area, located at 951 South Sanborn Road in Salinas. And at 1037 Abbott Street, Salinas. With that, I will open up public comment on this item before we go into closed session. And not seeing anyone via online or in the conference room, we will go ahead and close the public comment. And we will excuse the public, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here today. There's quite a few online and all those in the boardroom. So thank you so much.
Gonna go next door. We're expecting us to last more than
We are re-adjourning back into open session and would you like to report out?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So the board did meet in closed session on one item. This was conference with real property negotiators under Government Code Section 54956.8. This regarded the 3 properties that were listed and involved a lease termination and relocation of transit facilities. What was discussed was a review of capital positions of the district. They received parameters for negotiations going forward and was given direction to identify real property negotiators. That concludes our report at this time.
Okay, thank you. And with that, this meeting is adjourned. The next meeting will be April 14th.
In a month. Yeah. That really not.
Are you good to be here?
Josh.